Hi, everyone. Welcome to Breaking the Silence, a podcast produced by Angels Protection, Inc., where we amplify the voices that challenge inequity, advocate for individuals, advance healing, and reimagine leadership in spaces where influence shapes lives. I'm your host, Makaila Davis, founder and chairwoman of Angels Protection, Inc. And this episode is a part of our Men Leading in Academia series, where we spotlight men whose leadership extends beyond titles, men who is reshaping higher education through service, strategy, and a deep commitment to student access, belonging, and opportunity. The series exists because representation in academic leadership matters, because who leads determine who gets access, and because higher education must remain a pathway, not a barrier, to mobility, dignity, and purpose. And today's guest embodies that truth. Dr. Pernell Goodwin is a higher education administrator whose career has been shaped by a lifelong connection to college campuses and a deep commitment to student access, equity, workforce development. Having grown up around higher education, he has spent more than 2 decades immersed in the culture, mission, and transformative power of colleges, particularly community colleges, as engines of opportunity and social mobility. Throughout his career, Dr. Goodwin has served students from all walks of life, with a particular focus on first generation and underserved populations. His leadership experience spans enrollment management, student success, student affairs, community engagement, and executive campus leadership, allowing him to approach institutional challenges with both strategic vision and lived understanding. His impact has been widely recognized, including the Distinguished Alumni Award from Mississippi College's Higher Education Administration Program and institutional honors for leadership, innovation, and community engagement. Under his leadership, institutions have strengthened enrollment strategies, expanded workforce pipelines, and deepened community partnerships, efforts that have contributed to campus being named Educational Institution of the Year by Best of Mississippi Awards and later inducted into the organization's Hall of Fame. Central to Dr. Goodwin's philosophy is the belief that health sciences and healthcare programs represent one of the most critical pathways in higher education today. He views these programs as essential to addressing workforce shortages, improving community health outcomes, and providing students with reliable, purpose driven careers that offer both stability and impact. His leadership approach is grounded in service, relationships, and reflection. He believes that wisdom comes not just from experience, but from learning from experiences, a mindset that has shaped award recognized initiatives focused on enrollment growth, student engagement, retention, and institutional effectiveness. Dr. Goodwin's commitment to service is also informed by his military background. He served in the United States Air Force and Air National Guard, where he was awarded the National Defense Service Medal, an experience that continues to influence his leadership style, crisis management approach, and sense of responsibility to others. He's a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, where the fraternity's values of achievement, service, and community uplift inform both his personal leadership philosophy and his professional commitment to mentorship and access. Outside of his professional life, Pernell is a devoted husband and proud father too. His leadership in higher education is deeply personal, grounded in the desire to leave behind stronger institutions, healthier communities, and expand possibilities for the next generation. And we're honored to welcome you to the Breaking the Silence podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Now, I appreciate you and all the great work that you're doing. So, I kind of wanted to start off by asking you spent most of your life around higher education. So, what
Yes.
earlier experiences shaped your beliefs in colleges, especially community colleges, as engines of opportunity?
Yes, honestly, it really started as a young child. I actually grew up on a college campus. My mom was a resident hall director for 20 years at Jackson State University here in Jackson, Mississippi. And so I actually lived in the dorm as, like I said, an 8-year old. We had a house too, but we was back and forth different places. And so just being around just this hub of education and possibilities just kind of shaped me. And then when I actually got in college, as a freshman, I said, "No, this right here is the cheat code. Like everything you need to be successful in life, is on a college campus. Learning about time management, learning about discipline, learning, of course, how to study, research, how to think, and just learning how to socialize and learn about different cultures. And so everything was there for your taking. And it's one of the only places, like I tell students, where you're going to be around this many people in this confined space. So just soak it all in and get as much as you can. And so from there, I just knew education was the way to uh, bridge anything you want to be, anything you want to do. You want to create generational wealth. Gaining a good education is the way to do it. And so from there, I just wanted to spread the gospel of higher education, and that what kind of led me to being a college recruiter as kind of one of my first areas in higher education, and just wanted to talk about education opportunities and what this learning and this experience can get you and where it can take you. And from there, I just kind of fell in love with it, and fell in love with helping people reach their full potential. That's what I feel is my why, is why I'm here on this earth, is to help people reach their full potential. And so the best way I know how to do that personally is through education. And that what really rooted my passion into just being all about education and higher education. And that could be not just four-year university or of course your community colleges, but that can be trade school. That can be getting a certificate or just getting some certain credentials. So anything that's post-secondary, anything that's higher than K-12, I feel is higher education, and I feel it's for everybody. I just seen a quote from Malcolm X the other day that said, first time you tell a lie is questioned, but you tell it so much, then it just becomes the truth, and then it becomes common sense, and nobody really even question it anymore. And I feel that's kind of how that phrase "college isn't for everyone." I feel that how that kind of came about. One person said it, and it kind of stuck, and now everybody says it. But I believe college, higher education specifically, is for each and every person. Because no matter what you want to do, you want to be an influencer or entrepreneur, you want to do music, you want to own a business, you're going to have to keep learning. You're going to have to keep getting education. And so higher education and seeking, more knowledge is for everybody. And that just what really rooted me into everything I do. And at community colleges, I feel we are on kind of the front lines with helping our students, one, either get an associate's degree or they can get a career technical degree, which can either be a certificate or an associate's. And we also have workforce programs, which is our short-term programs. So that can be from a day to 16, 18 weeks to help people kind of get a skill, get credentials, and get into the workforce quickly, and just keep building on that as well too. And so I feel we're doing some great work at community colleges, but at all our colleges and institutions and universities. I feel everybody has a place and has a mission. And so we just want to continue to like I said, spread the gospel about the possibilities and helping specifically my communities. And like I said, like you said, the first generation groups, those underrepresented groups, minorities. A lot of times we lack access, lack opportunities, and I always just want to continue to provide that.
No, I love that. And that's really important too. And even when you touched on your early experiences as a child, being in the dorm with your mom as she was a director of the college, um, most people aren't gifted that opportunity, but seeing that as a
Right.
youth, as a kid, 8, 9 years old, and then to see where you are now, and in your leadership journey is like huge. Um,
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah. I think about it often and just reflect. Like I said, the quote of course having those experiences is one thing, but always reflecting on them and then extracting the teachings from them. And I was a little different child. I was a little eccentric, and so even when I was 4 and 5, I would get up and read the newspaper and have a cup of coffee. Well, I have a cup that looked like I was drinking coffee just to mock my parents and stuff. And I just was a little old man, so they called me that all my life, a little old man. And so even when I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, I'm looking and noticing things and remembering things that probably the normal 8 or 9 year old really didn't care about. But I just thought it was just so interesting. And so that's why I always say I've been immersed and engulfed in higher education, really for almost 30 years, just because I'm a sponge. So I just soak in everything around me. And so seeing the students, seeing the professors, seeing the interaction with my mom and her colleagues, or seeing or hear her talking about this decision came down from administration and how they didn't give their ask for their input, but they're the one that really have to carry it out, and just that discourse, and so all those different things I play over and over in my head every day to make sure I'm a better leader and better educator, and then that I'm always looking to continue to learn. And so I just enjoy really the whole experience of it, and I just love it. I've been in it my whole life, and at first I didn't really see the connection when I was first getting into college. I just thought I wanted to maybe major in math or do something. And then as time go on, I couldn't run from it. And higher education is where I always been, is where I kind of always want to be.
No, I love that. And it's important. It's really important, especially the front lines, as you said, with community colleges
Oh,
and
yes.
all of the opportunities that you guys provide through the associate's degrees, the certificates, workforce development programs, just to push people to get work and be employed is really important and critical. So yeah, the work you guys do is really important for the community. And like even I kind of wanted to ask also too, at what point did your work move from serving students to shaping systems that determine access and success?
Yes, wow. That's a great question. I would say, like I said, initially, I was a college recruiter and counselor, and so really was about kind of getting the word out, you know, telling students about these opportunities and trying to get them into college. And as you hear about different things and you talk to the students and you hear about their barriers and what they're facing, and it's like, man, I wish I could do more. I wish I could do more. And that always was kind of the mission was, what more can I do? And of course, you're serving students, but you're kind of restrained to whatever guidelines that you have. You know, you have to play by the rules of that game or whatever it is. And then at some point, you kind of realize, okay, I'm serving the students, I'm playing the game, and I'm playing within these lines that I have to play. But how can I have a greater impact? How can I create some of the rules? How can I change the way the game is played? And that's where you start to see even more, even greater impact. And um, one of my favorite quotes is, "Success is not judged by how much money you make or the things you have. It's judged by how many people you impact and how many people you bless every day." And that's really what my mission in life is. I've go through history back in read the Bible back in time, they were doing actual healings and doing those things. But now here in 2026, we are gifted with the abilities to do those different things. We're made in that image. So a doctor is gifted with the knowledge to help heal people or help do surgeries. And engineers are gifted with that knowledge to help build structures. And I've been gifted to be able to touch and help serve all those different career fields. So I can help say I had a part in serving and sparking the mind of hundreds and thousands of engineers, or hundreds and thousands of doctors or lawyers or educators or no whoever. And so that's really how I kind of fell in love with it. And I said I want to make sure that they have the best possible system to make sure they're successful. And that's one of the first questions I ask all my students and all my faculty and staff, or what can I do to help you be more successful? And that's by decreasing barriers. That's by making sure it's a system where it's equitable, not necessarily equal, because equal only works if everybody starts out at the same position. Equitable is having what you need to be successful. And so, and that changes for every person, 'cause every person has a different background, different starting point. And so I just want to make sure every system is equitable. Every system allows them opportunity and access where they can have these opportunities to achieve what they want to achieve, and they don't have to be in a box or feel like, well, I'm only from Mississippi, I only can be so much, or I only can do so many things. No, there's no limits. Whoever said the sky was the limit, and that's some of the biggest things I try to just spread to my students. And by as I keep going up and up in administration, I really get to impact all my students by making sure it's a system that's fair and equitable for everybody, and that they have an opportunity to be successful. And so, from going to like the entry level positions to mid management and now cabinet level, you really can see the impact of, okay, this is like this, and this is kind of hindering our students. This is a barrier, but we need to find out how we can get rid of that so these students can be as successful as possible. And it really kind of just started sparking me as I kept going in higher ed and seeing so many barriers and seeing so many different things that was holding a lot of our students back. And so I just wanted to make sure that we have an opportunity, and they have an opportunity, to, you know, be on a course where they don't have to keep hitting these roadblocks, and they can have a smooth sailing to whatever they want to do.
No, I love that. And especially when you touch on being able to have a hand in saying, okay, I helped X amount of engineers or,
Hmm.
X amount of now lawyers and doctors and professionals and, giving them that great foundation from the beginning, from
Yes.
whether they started it in a workforce development program and then went to a certificate and then when it got and apply those credits to an associate's degree,
Right.
you know, and then said, you know what? I love school so much. Now I want to go get my bachelor's degree.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now I want to go get a master's degree. Man, I loved it again. I want to go become a doctor now.
Get it on. Yes, don't
You
stop.
know,
Don't stop.
no stop. And it just it creates that beautiful pipeline that works. And
Right. Oh, definitely.
it really does work. Um, so it's just so important. It's beautiful to see. Um, and also too, how has your upbringing around college campuses influenced how you lead today?
Oh man. Like I said, I lean on just my whole life experience every single day. I just think back and like I said, I do a lot of reflecting, every minute, every hour, every day on how I can be better. I'm kind of on this pursuit of being the best person I can be, and as I grow to be the best person, that helps me continue to be the best leader and be the best supervisor, best vice president, hopefully eventually a president, that I can be. But it starts with always reflecting and holding myself accountable. Always, am I doing the best I can do? And so I just think back to all my different experiences, and that just shapes my leadership style. I'm real big on one, being a servant leader. I feel as an educator, and you're a public servant. You're a public servant, so you're serving your students, you're serving your community. I'm serving my faculty and staff. I'm serving just each and every person. And like I said about taking barriers away and making sure systems are equitable, that's a form of service. And so I want to just want to be a servant leader. I'm big on being situational. So a situational leader, I don't try to fit everybody into one model. I handle every situation as they come, case by case, independently. And just growing up, I've met so many people and seen so many different leadership styles, and just met so many different people from all walks of life. Of course, growing up in Jackson, Mississippi, we all come from all different backgrounds. We all come from different income levels. Some people have parents who are veterans, or they are veteran, or there's some people who grew up in Section 8 housing and low income housing, and everybody just. That's why I'm such a big advocate about public school, just because it's a big melting pot. And you don't get to pick, who you're around, just like in the world, you don't get to pick, but you get to communicate with all these different people. And then from there, you go to college, and now it's even bigger group of people from all different walks of life. And then I went to the military right after I left undergrad, and I now at another big melting pot of all different kind of people and all the different experiences. It's just learning to communicate with all those different people and understand their mental and their philosophy and how to socialize with them. That helps me today have a different outlook and different mindset and worldview, and be open to different worldviews, and not just my own. Because a lot of times when you grow up, of course, in a community, you're kind of in a bubble, but you don't really know it. You think everybody think what you think, and then you realize, it's a lot of mindsets out there. There's a lot of way people are seeing the same situation, but they see it and view it differently. And you have to be open to that, to learn, and also to just continue to grow as a person. And that helps me lead all those different people by being an active listener and learning their mindset and their backgrounds and what kind of motivates them. How do I need to speak with this person to get them going and to get them on the right track, which may be different from their colleague or another person. And so that really shaped my leadership style. And then just growing up, my dad, he was a serial entrepreneur. And so he had a lot of preneurs, some that did okay, some didn't do too well. And so he really just taught me the art of one, being an entrepreneur and having an entrepreneur mindset, also working hard, not really complaining, just rolling with the punches. because he's passed now, so he can't go to jail or anything. But around 8 years old, I'm on a roof, putting down tar and doing different things, which I'm sure is against all kind of child labor laws. But it taught me a lot of the valuable lessons. And so he had this little ladder he built out of some random wood he found. And so I'm kind of scared going up the wood. He like, what, go on, get up that ladder. And I'm like, man, this thing gonna break. And so I'm all on I'm all on the roof, just as an 8 year old kid, those things stick with me each and every day. And it's just like, just continue to always work hard. And he said, no matter what you're doing, whether you like it or not, give 150%. And so that just always stuck with me to this day, to just keep going and keep working and keep being the best person I can be. And that also is leading, by example. And your team and the people you're leading, they see that. They see that passion. They see that hustle. They see that you're willing to work hard. And they say, well, if Pernell and Dr. Goodwin doing it, then he's not saying something that he's not doing. And so we're gonna work as hard as well too. And so those are just some of the core things from my childhood and just growing up. I've learned, and I played sports. I was in the band, and I took things from my different band directors or my coaches, which at the time didn't make sense. But as you reflect and you think about it, like, oh, okay, I see why we did this or why we did that, and it all starts to make sense now. And I just take all those different experiences and just kind of take it in as my own, and it helps me be a better leader.
No, I love that. And I think it's also kind of too like if you see it, you can be it.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's really important too when we're talking about, especially at the um, community college, like, undergrad level, um,
Mhm.
seeing folks in these higher positions and them actually doing the work and saying, you know what, I can do that too. If
Right.
I'm this close in proximity, I can
Hmm.
be that too. It's going to take a while, but if I put myself in a great position and pipeline myself to this and come up with a great strategic plan, I can get there.
Yes.
Um, so I think that's, it's so important. That's why it's so critical the work that you guys do at the community college level, especially with those like workforce development programs, because that does pipeline you to careers.
Oh, yes,
Um,
most definitely.
yeah, like medical assistants, for example, like those
Mhm.
programs, that there could be somebody's like, oh wow, I love this. Okay, let me go get my degree. Now I want to be a nurse.
Yes. Oh, yes,
Or
yes.
I want to be a medical doctor. Let me go get let me look what that looks like and, gaining that experience on the job, which most people they don't find out they want to do that until after they got all these degrees and they don't have that experience. So there's a gap, you know?
Right.
So, and then you even touched on too, learning that everybody doesn't have the same mindset as you. So
Oh,
meeting
yes.
people where they are when you're communicating to them, is so important, a great skill. And you having all these different experiences with the military and then, with then going on to apply that to higher education. Um, so and talking to these different people where they are, you know,
Oh,
and,
yes.
and yeah, so it's just it's so important. And also too, community college they serve some of the most diverse student populations in the country. So
Hmm.
do academic leaders often misunderstand about the students these institutions serve?
Ooh. Um, that's a good question. I talk with my faculty all the time, because and you hear people say, I'm gonna meet the students where they are, and a lot of times they are saying that, but they're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna meet them where they are, but they can't be, that low, you know.
Mm.
But you may have to literally go to the ground, and bring them up, and I just always tell them, don't make any assumptions, don't make any assumptions on their prior education or their prior background or anything. I just tell them to literally get to know them, and that they're gonna one way or another tell you where they are, and wherever they at, you have to go down there and bring them to where they need to be. And that's not always easy. That's difficult at times. And then you also have a lot of students who don't make the connection to what they're doing in the classroom to what they're doing outside the classroom. And a lot of times we have to bridge that gap by having like co-curricular experiences and experiential learning internships and on-the-job training, and that's what's so big about I'm a student engagement and student affairs practitioner along with a lot of other things, but I'm definitely about student engagement and student affairs, and that's the gap. That what bridges the gap. So when you are at these events or activities, now this makes what you do in the classroom make sense. And a lot of times you have to kind of break it down to them. So when I was at advisor, uh, every student pretty much takes at least a one psychology class. And so, all the some of the parents too, but all the students used to be, no, 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 Mr. Goodwin, you got my schedule wrong. I'm not a psychology major. I'm like, no, well, one, you need to look at your curriculum and see the class you're supposed to be taking. Now you see psychology on there. They're like, why I need that? I was like, well, you take the class, learn everything you can learn, and soon it'll start to make sense. And so they was taking it, and then kind of toward the end of the semester, they came back to me, and they was like, oh yeah, Mr. Goodwin, I see when I'm out at parties or events or stuff now, and I'm talking to people and I'm engaging, a lot of this psychology stuff we learn in class kind of starts to make sense. I said, exactly. That's something you need no matter what you want to do in life. You need those basic, foundational skills, and it's given that. And so I think a lot of times we underestimate what our students really, really need or what they really know. And we make assumptions of, oh, well, if they can do this one thing, they should be able to do this other thing. And a lot of times they don't make that connection. And even I say that sometimes. I was talking to my coworker, and to my daughter, you know, kids, do what they want to do, and they remember what they want to remember, and all those kind of things. And used to be always joking to her, serious but joking at the same time. And I was like, you know how you um are listening when me and your mama talking and you ain't supposed to be listening and you remember all that? That's the kind of energy you need to take in class when you supposed to be taking notes and listening. And so she looking like she still ain't getting it. And so well, and so isn't that the same? Can you just transfer that energy of those skills? And my coworker like, nah, it don't work like that. And I said, okay, I understand. And so, you really have to just make it make sense for them, and like don't make any assumptions. Just like we have kids now at 1 and 2 years old, they can work, the iPhone, and so now we're thinking they really know technology, but when they get on an actual computer or a laptop, they can't really work it. And so we just sometimes we make a lot of assumptions, and we get frustrated from those assumptions. And so I just always try to tell my faculty and staff we have campus reading every year. And first year I was there, we read Start with Why. And the first chapter says, don't make any assumptions.
Mm.
That's really about anything. But definitely with our students, we need to assume that they know nothing, and we need to start there and build them up. And if they do know more, good. If they don't know more, we still good. And so I just always try to tell them, just be patient. Everything is a learning experience. That's from inside the classroom, outside the classroom. Every single part of the day is a time to educate. When you're an educator, that's just not from that block that you are teaching that one class. You're an educator all day, every day, 24/7. And so I just always kind of keep telling them, don't make any assumptions, be patient. And this is what our students need. Our students need, and they're counting on us to continue to lead the way for them and educate them in every aspect possible.
I agree with that. And it's especially when you talked on that they need a catalyst
Oh
and
yeah,
to see and work towards consistently. And education opens up so many pathways. Um, just for what you want to do in life. And like you said,
right.
even to tie into what you said earlier, anything above K through 12 is higher education.
Yes,
And a lot of people don't view it that way. Like, oh, if I
right.
get a certificate, that doesn't mean, no, it does.
You're right.
It does, because you had to do something after getting that high school diploma.
Yes.
So it just depends. Okay, do I want to get a degree, or do I want to do something that's just straight going to the workforce, figuring out what that middle ground is. And courses are so valuable. Knowledge is so valuable.
Oh
Um,
yes.
yeah, and like even when you touched on when you were an advisor, and they were like, "Oh, well, why do I need this psychology course? I'm not a psych major." everybody should take psychology.
Oh yes, yes.
That's why it's one of the required courses at most
Right.
institutions. It's so like it's a transferable skill for when you leave and then you go into the work environment and you're dealing with so many different personalities and behaviors within business.
Yes, most definitely. And one thing I always tell my students, I will and I always try to relate kind of history to it. I think that makes things make sense, and it makes the present and the future make even more sense by knowing the past. And I say even when you look at slavery time and when we were brought over to this country, what's some of the main things they didn't want you to do? They didn't want you to read and write. They didn't want you to really know how to think and be educated. So anytime somebody is depriving you of something, that must mean it has a lot of value. Because if not, they wouldn't care. They knew that if somebody can read and write and they get knowledge, all these mind games and things that we was playing wouldn't work. That they want to keep them, mentally weak and physically strong. And so I say that's how valuable education is. That's how valuable knowledge is. And it's priceless. And so we need to treat it as such. And we need to always never try to put a price tag on it and never try to just make it worth, your salary, because it's more valuable than that. And so that's even a reason why the price is going up and up. And I don't like that. I wish education was free for everybody in America, but that's why they keep putting a higher and higher price tag on it, because it's so valuable and they won't listen less people to have it. That goes into, I guess, some other topics, but that's why I always try to just tell them to get your money's worth. And one of my old presidents said something that always stuck with me, and he said, education is one of the only things that people don't mind getting less than what they pay for. If you go to Wendy's and you get a 4 for 4 and you got three niggas in there, you going back in there with your receipt, you raising hell, you doing all kind of crazy stuff. But when you get into the classroom and there's a 50-minute class and you get out in 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you happy, you excited. You're
Mm.
actually praying that we get out early. And so you're not getting your money's worth though. And so we need to just kind of change our mindset on education and how valuable it is and how much it's really worth. And so that's another thing that we are educating people on, which is the value of education and how important it is. And that's a journey that, we go through every single day. And like you said, just continuing those pathways from maybe starting out as a CNA, and getting that experience early. And so that's why we're starting to do programs with our high school students where they can kind of get those credentials early and see if they really like healthcare. Healthcare is sexy. Everybody want to do healthcare now, but then when they get into it, they're like, I don't like looking at blood. I don't like doing this. I don't, I don't like doing that. And I was like, what you thought you were gonna be doing? And so it's good to kind of, see if you really like it without putting a whole lot of years in beforehand. And so then, okay, if I like it, I move up to being a LPN or a practical nurse, which we have those programs as well. And then you can be an RN and then, keep going further and further. Or you want to start out as an EMT. And then okay, I like kind of like EMT. I want to maybe then be a nurse or be a respiratory care therapist, and all these different careers, and try to just expand the mind on what's out there, how valuable it is, give you a little taste of it, before you really get in too deep into it, before you feel you can't turn back. And so just trying to get those students opportunities early and access early is something big as well too, and just tell them about, like I said, the value of
I agree with that. And then also to like those pipeline programs,
it. Mhm.
like especially when it comes to healthcare and being, a
Yes.
nurse and that pipeline, or even wanting to do medicine,
Yes.
to be a medical doctor. It's a lot.
Hmm.
It's a lot of dedication and a lot of rotations that you need to do and clinicals if you're trying to be a nurse. And like there's just a lot of extra steps that go into it. It's not just coursework. So
Oh,
it's
yes.
a huge commitment. So it's really good that you guys are starting them at high school and saying, hey, here's the CNA program, test it out, and then these pipeline programs for workforce development, they also bridge the gap to equity. Because let's say if you
Yes.
were for pay, let's say if you were a CNA for 2 years, you know, and then you're like, okay, I like it. I'm also going to go for my LPN. By the time you finish your LPN, you've been doing it for 3 years. They might give you more pay because you've been working,
Yes, yes, yes.
in the
You got
field
more experience.
experience, and then, okay, now I want to be an RN. Okay, now we'll give you more pay when you graduate because you've been in this nursing healthcare role for so long. And you're picking up on everything. We'll give you more pay than what you would have if you started out just fresh out of getting your BSN.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about it like that. Like, how are folks getting more pay,
Hmm.
when they just finished their degree? They've probably been working in that field for X amount of years, and now they can get pay, starting out they were 5 years in. So those,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, pre-pipeline programs are really good, especially starting for high school students.
Oh, most definitely. And that's one thing that I was watching a podcast with Barack Obama was on there talking, and he was like, a lot of times, you get into these rooms with all these people with fancy suits. Really, the only difference between them and maybe you is they've been exposed more or longer. And people in different situations who come from a background where their family maybe was a little wealthier, they started getting knowledge about business or healthcare in elementary school, middle school, compared to, like I said, someone else come from a lower income background. They just seen it when they finally made it to college. And so they're kind of late to the game, and so they eventually catch up. But man, what if this person would have started 10 years ago learning about that? They'll be now ahead of the game. And so we're just trying to make sure students in our area, like I said, they maybe come from low income backgrounds and come from areas where they typically don't get these opportunities or this access, by making sure they do have it and making sure it is available to them. And I always say you should be able to get a world class education in your own backyard, and you shouldn't have to stay in the riches of the rich area to get this opportunity to learn about these different programs or learn these different skills. We want to give it to each and every person early so they can change their environment or change their trajectory and their family trajectory by doing those different things and getting that knowledge. And so just getting like starting out with like I said, 7 week um CNA class, or starting out, like I said, with EMT, which is typically about 16 weeks or so. They can really, get a feel for it, get their hands on it. And then even if they finish the program and say, I don't want to ever do this again, that's fine. One, we also have funding opportunities for them. So a lot of times they don't have to come out of pocket. And number two, they have the credential if they want to use it. And then if they don't, they haven't spent, 4, 8 years doing something that they really don't love or have a passion for. And so it's one of the best ways I feel to kind of get students, out there early. And then, like I said, you like it, we have a clear um, um, model for you to be able to keep going and keep getting more and more credentials. And now when I do get out there with other RNs, I get a chance to get a promotion quicker, and be maybe the nurse supervisor or the lead nurse quicker than somebody else because I've had all the experience and I've had this background in it for longer instead of somebody that's just fresh out of college and just their first time working, in the field. And so we just want to get them more and more opportunities, more and more access, and just try to hopefully continue to level the playing field.
And bridge the gap. And
Oh
it's
yes.
so important. And like you touched on, exposure. Um,
Hmm.
and also I feel like, in addition to exposure, sponsorship, mentorship, all
Yes.
three of those things could propel you quicker than your peers, and then people, and that's the gap too. Like I'll see people in these leadership roles and I'm like, well, how did they get that? But like you said, exposure, mentorship,
Mhm.
sponsorship, having family members that have been in the field, or if their family
Right.
member wasn't doing it, their family member connected them to someone that they knew that was doing it, and then that person took them under their wing, and that's why they were able to be successful because they started from young.
Right. Right.
So it's really important. And I think starting at, like, even as early as like 16.
Oh yes.
Yeah, because I'm like, when you're 16, you can drive.
Yes,
So,
sure can.
starting early 15, 16, and, starting leadership development, learning different things like how to fundraise,
Mhm.
or,
Yes, exactly.
volunteering, making yourself a well-rounded individual is really important. Because then by the time you turn 18, you will already be well developed and prepared when it's time to go to college and, do those next steps in your phase in life. So it's
Yeah.
it's so important, like it's starting early.
Oh yes, yeah, and that made me think about something. Me and my friends were talking the other day. It was kind of funny, and my friend wrote a post on Facebook just about kind of like intentional parenting. Because he's an educator, he's an assistant superintendent in one of our school districts in Mississippi, and he just talked about how when he was a kid, even in elementary school, there really was no such day as no homework. You know, no matter if he didn't have homework from the school, his mom had him doing different work or doing lessons or doing this and doing that. And at the time, you thinking like this is unnecessary. Like, why can't you just go outside and play basketball with everybody else? And then as you get older, it started to make sense that education, you just can't rely on just the school to educate. The parents and your environment and your village has to be involved to kind of push that along. And I made a joke. I said, yeah, my dad, when I was younger, he had me reading the paper to him and stuff. And I'm thinking like, he must can't read or something. Like, why you gonna keep having me read the paper? But I do with my daughter now, have her read everything, and I'm like, oh, he's teaching me to learn to love to read and get more and more experience with reading and learning words and learning what words mean and context clues. Unconsciously, I'm learning these things without even knowing it. And even when I was 7, 8 years old, he was working on political campaigns, and he had me out there, putting out flyers with him or going door to door knocking. And I'm 7, 8 years old, and now when I was a recruiter, like I said, that really brought me back to, oh, I done exactly this kind of thing, this kind of outreach, even at a young age, and just that exposure, even not knowing it then, that exposure really just paid dividends and taught me so many lessons that I use to this day. To even go back to your earlier question about kind of learning things from your childhood that kind of stick with you now. And so all those things, it just kind of made me who I am today, and just taught me so many different things without even knowing it in the moment.
No, and I could see that too. And it's kind of like when you touched on too, intentional parenting, like,
Hmm.
preparing kids from young. That's
Yes.
really important, like really, really early. Like, because then by the time that when it's time to graduate, they're ahead of the game.
Right.
Especially when we're talking about um us and our community being Black,
Hmm.
it's really important that we're starting as young as we can. Because these with other races, they're starting early.
Oh
They
yes.
have advantages that we just don't, due to different systemic inequities that have happened over time. So it's just so important that we start our kids young. And yeah, of course you're going to want to play with your friends, but when you turn 18 and you realize why you were reading that paper,
Exactly.
you're like, you know what? I'm glad I did it because I didn't think that I was going to be here.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
maybe he didn't fully lose his marbles. He was making sense. It just
Right. Right. Right.
I wanted to play football. I wanted to be outside with my friends.
Exactly. Maybe he can read. He just was trying to teach me something. Yeah.
So it's just like, and then you become an adult, and it's like you're an adult longer than you are a kid.
Yes.
So,
Right.
using that time wisely. And then also there's many fun things that you could do as an adult. Once
Oh
you
yeah.
set up your life well, where you can support yourself, and it'll make up for it in different areas. Um,
Correct.
but also too, I wanted to touch on your military service.
Yes.
So how has your military service influenced how you lead under pressure and navigate uncertainty?
Oh yes. The military, it really just quickly, how I got into the military was kind of, I wouldn't advise anybody to do kind of what I did in my route. I think people should read and do research and really learn about what you're really getting into. Me, I was kind of just finished college, and at the time, I wanted to just be a college graduate. I went to Jackson State University, and I grew up around the campus and on the campus. So I just wanted to be a Jackson State alum. And then when I finally graduated, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so I had a girlfriend at the time who she was in law school. It was her first semester, and she was like, "Oh, so Pernell, what you gonna do now since you graduated?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I do got to work or something, huh?" And I said, well, I don't really know. And so she kind of gave me an ultimatum. You know how some of the females be. I ain't they no dude ain't got nothing. And so I was like, man, what I'm gonna do? And so I seen a Air Force commercial. And so I said, oh, maybe I could join the Air Force. And then I had like two or three friends who joined and was saying how good it was. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna do that. And then so I just looked it up, and then they was like, okay, well, what job you want to do? Typically you research stuff you actually like to do, and you see what's entailed and what's the qualifications. And then you wait for that job to come open, and then you get that job. I just said, oh, no, it don't really matter. They was like, oh, you could be a crew chief. You could be the chief of all the crews. I said, okay, I'll do that. No research, I ain't read nothing, look up nothing. And I just got in as quick as I could. And I had a bachelor's degree, so I could have been an officer. But I went in enlisted. And so I said, yeah, somebody mentioned about the officer test. They're like, how the officer test kind of hard. Just continue to go enlisted. So I said, okay. And so I'm just going and just, go with the flow kind of guy. And so I just get into the military, and that first day when you get off the bus, you and probably everybody else in your flight. In the Air Force, we have flights. Um, in the Army, you may hear platoon or more commonly or barracks. But in the Air Force, we have flights, and we stay in a dorm technically. With kind of like two big bays, and everybody they got off the bus and they hollering and screaming at us, and everybody just like, what am I got myself into? And so like the first week you just kind of in shock because you just people hollering at you, you running everywhere, you going here, going there, your body just in shock. And I'm like, this is terrible. I hate this. And so you got other guys that's in there crying, or one guy, which I'm not gonna say his name. I don't want to put him out there, just in case he watched the show. He about 6'6", and he was the tallest guy in our flight. And we was in the bathroom one day, and all I hear is, I said, man, you all right? Man, yeah, man, I miss home, man. I said, it's gonna be all right. He real tall, so I'm just panting up real high, looking up high, real. It's gonna be all right, man. And and we just all going through it. And then after you about your third, fourth, fifth week, 'cause you're there 8 weeks. So after about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you kind of get in the groove and you kind of adapt and get used to it. And so just going through the experiences and learning that, one, your mind and you are more capable than anything you think you're more capable of. That's one thing. Anything we thought we couldn't do, we really could. And that's why one reason why it's so drastic, why they say, do this in 30 seconds. You might not actually do it in 30 seconds, but you're gonna do it way faster than you thought you could. And that's kind of the mindset behind it. And then also just the discipline and knowing, what you all's mission is. Everybody trains, every branch of the military trains differently because everybody has a different mission. So the Marines may be a little more strict and they have be a little more disciplined because their mission is to initially go in and they take the land. In the army, they kind of pass off to the army and they hold the land. So those people had to be a little more disciplined and a little more straightforward. Don't think outside the box. Do exactly what we told you to do, because otherwise, you could jeopardize the mission or you can get killed. Whereas the Air Force or the Navy, and Air Force controlling the air and cyberspace, and the Navy is controlling the seas, and the Coast Guards patrol the coast. It's a little more okay. How do I think my way out of this? How do I know what I'm supposed to do, but think otherwise as well too. So everybody has a different mission, and so that taught me also in an organization, every office or department is not going to operate the same
Mm.
because everybody has a different mission. So my student services office doesn't operate the same as the library, or my maintenance team doesn't operate the same as my faculty members. So everybody has a different mindset, and you have to, like I said earlier about situational leadership, you have to lead them as such as well. And so I've learned all that just through my time in the military, different experiences and learning in the military. We had a young man who was from Idaho, and we were just in there having a conversation about Tupac. And he said, "Hold on, guys, I'm not being funny or whatnot, but who is Tupac?" And we think everybody know Tupac. It don't matter what culture, what race, all across the world, everybody know Tupac. And he really didn't know. and kind of find out this was his first time being around black people. Only time he ever seen black people was on TV, and probably like BET, which, has mixed messages about black people. And so he really, was learning, and that really taught me to also to give people more grace. And some people really don't know, and they don't mean any harm. They just ignorant, and they don't know, and they don't know they don't know. And so just to kind of also in that moment to be an educator, be patient and see it from their point of view, because a lot of times we don't know as well either. And so I took all those different lessons into how I educate. I've been in all black spaces where I've been in a lot of my HBCUs, and then I've been at Christian colleges. I've been at PWIs. I've been at 2-year, 4-year, and every different institution is different, and I just learn and soak it up from every institution how to think differently and have a different mindset, and also how to educate in those spaces as well too. And so I at the time hated the military and would never suggest anybody to do it, but now I tell students, one, is a great place, depending on what your goals are and what you want to do. Please do your research. Don't be like me. Don't just watch a commercial and then join tomorrow. Please do your research. And I learned, lastly, just your mindset, uh, and your outlook creates kind of your experience. And so at the time, I kind of didn't like it. I hated it. I would just be miserable. And everybody else seemed like they just having such a good time and having fun. And then I started to realize, well, everybody having fun but me. It can't be the environment. It must be me and my mindset. And so I try to tell my students, positive thoughts bring positive outcome, and negative thoughts bring negative outcome. So if you want to, be happy or live this or live that way, you need to create the environment you want. Because most times it's not the environment that's doing anything to you; it's your mindset on how you're looking at things. And so all those different lessons I try to just take with me every single day.
No, I appreciate that perspective, especially when you talked about doing your research and that there are so many pathways with the military.
Oh
If
yes,
you have a degree, a bachelor's that you can go in, depending what branch you do,
yeah, right.
yeah, and what jobs they have available, and how many officer positions they have at that
Yes.
time. But you can go in as an officer and take that exam and be patient.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, and do your research on the different branches too, because some are rougher than the others.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
If you are extremely physical, you may want to do the Marines, because that's a part of their mission. Air Force, we do some physical stuff, but we not as strenuous because we have a different mission. So you have to know what your skills are and your talents are and your interests, and just make sure they're all aligned, no matter what you do.
no, it's really important. And I come from a family that all the men in the older generation they served.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah, so like my dad, he served, he did Navy. And it's just it teaches you a lot of great skills that you can use um into your career. Like even when you said you learned that everybody has a different mission. So the library department is different than the health sciences department. So they do
Oh,
different work.
yes,
And using that skills that you learned and transferred it to where you are now. And companies love military personnel.
yes, yes.
Because you guys are very well trained in operations. Um,
Right.
so and it's good that you let people know, like, hey, do your research because
Oh,
it has
yes,
a lot of
please.
things, but research.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I tell my students. When you're looking at colleges, looking at programs, do your research. Like, see what is entailed. Look at what classes you take. You say, and when I was advisor, all these students want to, like I said, be in. I was the main advisor for the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology, and so I had all the biology majors, I had all the engineering majors, and everybody I meet, they want to be a physical therapist. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor. And then they say, "Well, I don't really like science." I'm like, "What? Like, what kind of class you think you're gonna take? Do you think you're gonna take number English classes?" I said, like, or they want to be, do business or do this and that, and they don't like math. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, make make sure your skills and what your interests are do align with what you want to do. And so, um, do your research, please, all the time.
Have to do your research. And that's with everything. Because then
Yeah, oh yes.
let's say, and then by the time you do get accepted, you're like, wow, I'm already well versed in it, and now I know all these other opportunities that are available. So when time comes, I can present that to whoever's in charge, like, hey, I'm interested in doing this pathway, because you are the driver of your life. So
Correct.
coming well equipped for whatever opportunity that you're trying to pursue and having a plan for that. So you could just execute that. You'll get to your goal quicker. And if it's to pursue leadership and obviously whatever career you want to choose, everybody wants to make a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
right, right,
making sure that you can pipeline yourself to the money quicker than, not doing your research. Um,
right.
so it's really important. And I also wanted to touch on too, you're a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So how has the fraternity service shaped your leadership values and sense of responsibility to others?
Oh man. And I uh became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. I was initiated in 2017 on as a grad alumni chapter when I was in undergrad. And another thing, going back to being patient, undergrad, I wanted to do it so bad, but I didn't. Of course, I didn't have any money. And then I asked my dad and my mom, and they was like, I don't know, maybe you just wait and do this, as an alumni or grad, when you got your own money, basically. Uh, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a long time. And then, years after I graduated, I got the opportunity again, to join the fraternity, and it seemed like no time had passed by, and so just to always be patient, like you said, and your time is your time, your pace, your race, and so never try to rush it. Everything works out in due time, and so when I really got a chance to join the fraternity, one, I was mature enough to understand, what it's about and what it's worth, and just the values and the principles, and the history of the fraternities. Of course, basic information you can find online. But of course, our in-depth history, that's one of the biggest things we learn. And just learning, why they started, and definitely, the early 1900s, specifically Kappa Alpha Psi, founded Indiana University. That's a predominantly white institution. And so you have a group of black students in the 1900s now, and so not 1900 like the young kids say when 1999. No, no, this is 1911. So, we're only a couple of years really removed from slavery, and you're on a white canvas. And so you gotta find a brotherhood. You gotta find some way to connect, and we all be together. And just those principles, still to this day, hundreds of years later, still staying true, that we have to work together and need to form a brotherhood, and be well connected and collaborate with each other. And so those things, achievement is one of the biggest principles of Kappa Alpha Psi. And so just to always be the best you can be, always continue to achieve, and achieve, and that has really just stuck with me. So I'm just like I mentioned earlier, in the pursuit of always getting better, and really, really my only competition is myself, and to be a better version of myself every single day, and just self growth, and learn as much as I can learn, and just continue to grow and just continue to learn. And so that mindset of achievement, that mindset of collaboration and brotherhood, just really carries go with me every single day. I carry that with me every single day, into the workforce, into my profession, and just really trying to network, and bounce things off other people and collaborate. A lot of people I know are frat brothers. A lot of people I know, I met in college, and a lot of the individuals I went to college with, they are now doctors, and they're nurses, and they're dentists, and those are people I go to for service. Those people I connect with when I want to talk to my students. And just that network and that brotherhood and collaboration, those core principles is something I use every single day. And I just think the brotherhood and fraternities are amazing. Sororities for the young ladies are amazing. It's a lot of times, no matter where you go, you have a brother or sister, in that area or in that place, or even if you're not in the same fraternity or sorority. Just like I said, being Greek, it is a certain a camaraderie amongst all the Greeks as well. We do our little, jargon where we, joking and playing with each other, but at the end of the day, we're all one team and we're all connected. And so that's something we try to carry every single day. Those are principles we try to carry with us and just try to just keep building on every single day to ensure that we hopefully can be as successful as possible. We can't do any of this alone. We all got to work together. We all have to learn from each other. We all need to, be exposed from different things from each other. And that's how we learn. That's how we continue to just get better. And so I just carry those principles every day. And I try to, of course, tell my students and educate them on it as well.
No, it's a beautiful thing. And and especially when you touched on too, that knowing that you always have a brother somewhere, because the network is
Yes.
huge, it's international. So knowing that wherever you go, there's someone there to support you, what you're doing, vice versa, and somebody to lean on. Um, and also too, in what ways has Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated reinforced your commitment to mentorship, access, and community uplift?
Oh yeah, that's really some of our biggest things. We are social organizations, but we have principles to serve and to help the community, and to reach back and bring up, like I said, our young men and help them as well. Like we were talking earlier, on offline, just about mentorship and seeing good men and seeing good brothers, and for our young men that's in middle school and high school. That's why we have organizations like Kappa League, or in middle school we have Kappa Gents, and so we're starting those core principles early to let those young men see good professional men. You don't have to be, in a gang, or you don't have to be a thug to be acceptable, or or to be liked or to be successful. You can be professional. You can have this career or that career, and just continue to expose them early. Like we mentioned earlier, just continue to expose them to so many different things. And so those are some of our core programs that initiatives, and to ensure that we're giving back to the community, that we're uplifting our whole entire community, but especially our young men, because we are needed out here. Our young men, along the way, throughout history, different things, of course, have been put in neighborhoods to try to take out, the black man out of families and out of situations. And so we want to try to now, definitely, I would say in the last 20 years, I think we've really got on a good foot of making sure that black men are in our community, in our households, everywhere we go, to build on those core principles. And I'm, so thankful to my black women for holding it down, but they need that support system. They need that helpmate to help them, and they need that village, and it need to be those joint perspectives. You need that nourishment of a mother, and you also need that discipline and that stewardship of a man in the household or in the community. That what makes, our young men, but all of our children, well-rounded and a holistic individual, by having all those different perspectives and having all those different mindsets around them to really nurture them. And so everything we do in Kappa Alpha Psi is just to uplift the community, uplift each other, uplift society. Because, like I said, when we started, it was only us, it was only a small group of students on this campus, and so we had to be together. And even now in 2026, we still need that. And so just, knowing the history and knowing why we're really doing it, that's what it's really about. You see people scrolling and stepping, and us twirling the cane. That's the flash and the show to get people interested. But the real deal work is what we're doing with mentorship, what we're really doing in the community, and really, like I said, teaching and uplifting everybody, but especially our young brothers.
And being the standard, right?
Oh
So,
yes.
yeah, and that young men can see, oh wow, look at him, look at what he's doing. He's a
Mhm.
doctor, he's an engineer, he's this, he's that. I can do that too, right? Plus knowing that I need to be a well-rounded individual and care about my community. Um,
Yes.
and everybody loves to see, the stepping and the strolling and, oh look, he's, doing his cane work, but it's really about the work. It's about being a good steward. And, like you also touched on too, it's important that, um, and it has been a great job Black men doing that within the last few years, being in the forefront of the community, and showing
Right.
up and showing out and, supporting the Black woman, like you touched on that as well too. Um, and just being a great standard for our young Black men. And
Oh
that this is the
yes.
path to follow. You don't have to do, exactly what I did for my career, but knowing that this is the blueprint. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
giving them a blueprint, so they don't really have to figure it out all on their own. Um, and also too, I wanted to touch on, so why do you believe historically Black fraternities remain vital leadership incubators within higher education and beyond?
Oh yes, yes, in higher education and of course at HBCUs, but specifically even at our like I said community college and our PWIs, our Hispanic Serving Institution, even our Christian institution and universities, fraternities and sororities, like I said, just the principles are so vital to all of our communities. Everywhere I've been, like I said, whether it's 2 year or 4 year, public, private, HBCU, PWI. Having that like I said that brotherhood and that sisterhood across the professionals, of course, across the different campuses, because I always meet somebody that's Greek, even if I don't meet another Kappa man or another Noop. I didn't met AK or Delta or we all kind of had the same mindset of how we need to help our students do better and be better, and just like I said that connection just is very strong everywhere you go, and so we just always want to make sure we spread the gospel, of course, of higher education. This how you could do it, and this how brotherhood sisterhood looks, because a lot of times we're put against each other. A lot of times we are taught to not trust each other, and we try to let them know that that's not the way. That's what they want you to do because they don't want it's strength in numbers, and they don't want that. And so it's best that we connect with each other and lean on each other, and like I said, network and like I said, have that exposure as well too. And one thing that a mentor said, he was talking to some of my students, and he said, you hear all the time people say that there are no shortcuts to success. He said that's a lie. He said when anytime somebody talk to you and they tell you about what they did wrong and this and that and they dropping gems on you, that's the shortcut right there. So now you can take my path and don't have to fall into the hole I fell into, uh, because I'm telling you about it now, and you can get to where I got to quicker or exceed that. And so just trying to keep, spreading the knowledge and keep uplifting our people. That's what we have to do. No matter what campus we're on, no matter what organization we're in, we have to continue to do that. And like I said, keep laying the blueprint because, it's not really a blueprint out here, but we know we're piecing together the best one we can for the younger generation to follow so they can hopefully follow that, and then now they can add on to it and keep building and exceed and do better than we did. And a lot of our older generations, they have built up, these great systems for us. They have laid a good path for us, and they did a lot of the heavy lifting, and we're living in it, and we're living good, better than we ever have. But we need to also make sure that we add on to the blueprint and bring it up, like I said, the younger generation with us, definitely at these college campuses, because those students they already at the college campus. So that tells me that you want more. That already tells me you want more, and so I'm going to give you more. I'm going to keep bringing you along and pulling you along to get more. And so I think that's very vital to just the success of our organizations and our communities and how we just keep building on it and getting better and better.
I agree with that, um, especially on bringing you with me.
Yes.
So important to bring that next generation up with you and sponsorship. I talk about this all the time because I have had, mentors, which
Hmm.
mentorship is great, but transitioning that at a point in time when you get into your career and you're working up, now I need sponsors because I don't need
Yes.
you to keep telling me the same story over and over and over again. I need you to actually tell me how I can open up this door and walk through it. And could you help me walk through it? You know,
Right.
would you utilize your connections? Because if I'm your mentor, like if I'm your mentee, you see something in me. So
Hmm.
will you open it? Like, and I can't ask you to open it, but hey, I know you see me, we talk all the time. Will you open that? So like I'm big on like now when I now have a lot of mentees, sponsoring them, bringing them along
Hmm.
with what I'm doing. And I'm willing to open up that door, you know, if this is really what you want to do. I'll
Right.
get you there. And I'll bring you to an event that I know that you can't get in there yet, and it's a ticketed event. I'll bring you to that, you know?
Right.
So, I feel like it's so important giving them those opportunities because there's a gap there.
Oh, yes, I
There's
think it is too.
a huge gap with sponsorship and, opening the door. Hey, like, yeah, I want to step over there. Tell me how I could do it.
Right, right, right.
Don't just
Yeah,
let
no,
me
no.
just like, don't tell me how good it is. Like, oh man, you're telling me it's so big. I know it's beautiful. I want to walk over there. Bring me
Right.
over. So
Yeah.
it's so important with the sponsorship part. And you know, seeing our younger generation through that way.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and like just to add, it's definitely a gap. Like you said, that I guess it's also going back to one of your earlier questions about kind of what people assume or don't know and or underestimating about our students. And like I said, is it a gap of okay, yeah, I told them what to do and this and that, but does that really do they really know what to do just because I told them?
mm,
And I reflect on like I said, talking to my daughter. And I say, go in your room and clean it good. And then I said, hold up, does she even know what clean it good mean?
right.
Like, do she even know what that looks like? And because they think it looking good and looking clean, and it looks terrible. And so you have to go in there and clean with her and show her how it looks and walk with her and say, okay, now this is what it looks like to look clean. So now you have an actual good example of what it did, what it looks like, what we did to reach this goal. And so now, even when I'm not here, you know what to do and you know how to achieve that goal. And so that's the same thing with our students. And like I said, we are dropping them gems and telling them what to do, but now we need to, like you said, grab their hand and walk with them and show them at least once or twice or three times. And so now when we're not there, they are doing the right things and they know how to achieve this goal. And so that's very important.
It is. And also being careful too with when you're mentoring and sponsoring and you're walking them through that process because there is a gap in experience. So
Yes.
mentee could say, oh wow, they're so amazing. I want to do this, da, 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 and try to rush the process. And then they do reach that goal, right? In
Hmm.
half the time it took you to do it. Like
Right.
it could have took you 3 years. They did it in 6 months,
Right.
but they didn't really know what all of that goal entailed or what that looked like being in those spaces and rooms. And now they're not like fully prepared and equipped, but they're still showing up because now they're just like thrown in to this role of leadership. So being, careful and cognizant too and pacing with our mentees and sponsoring. Um,
Oh yes, yes, and
or
and, and I tell them all the time to try to definitely like I said when I was advising or even when I was director or any of my uh roles, I try to tell them don't rush it and just trying to get to the destination. Enjoy the journey on the way to the destination. The journey is just as important or more important almost than the journey. It's kind of like when you're flying on an airplane, I fly from Mississippi to Pennsylvania and, it's 100 degrees in Mississippi. Then when I get to Pennsylvania, it's snowing. I'm not equipped when I get off the plane because, I got there so fast compared to if I was driving and now every state I go to, okay, it's getting a little more chilly. Let me stop by Walmart. Let me stop by here. And now when I finally reach my destination, I'm more prepared. And so that's just the perfect example of, learning every part of the journey matters and it's continue to equip you. It's continue to, add tools to your toolbox that you're gonna need once you actually do reach that pinnacle or that destination. And so I just try to they want everything fast, the microwave society. But when you want warm stuff up in the microwave, it be popping and making all that noise and stuff. And then when you stick your fork in it, it's still frozen.
Mm.
Because you rest it. And a lot of times you need that oven that really take longer. It may take hours, but everything is thoroughly cooked and it tastes a lot better because it took its time. And so I try to continue to tell them that, and I try to continue to tell myself that. I'm a young professional, and we want to have certain goals and get certain places, and sometimes we may consciously or unconsciously rush it as well. And so that's a part of self growth as well too. To tell myself to learn, soak in everything that's around me and learn what I can learn on this level. And so by the time I do continue to grow, I know and prepared for everything that's kind of handed to me, or the level I'm on now. I'm actually prepared because I learned every lesson I could previously.
I agree with that. And also, too, if you could change one thing about how higher education approaches access and workforce development, what would it be?
Ooh, I would say the biggest thing is to collaborate more, and a lot of times everybody work in their own silo, and then our students we're creating these workforce programs, and we're giving them tools and going through the curriculum, and then when our students actually get into the workforce, it's like totally different because we didn't talk to the business and industry to know what they're doing now or what students need to be learning, or where people have fell short beforehand. And so we're trying to hopefully do more of communicate with each other and really connecting education to the business and industry, and making sure workforce development is really being developed how it's supposed to. And because a lot of times our students um, definitely like I said in healthcare programs, we may go through certain things in our EMT course, and then when they actually get out on the ambulance, now they got to be retrained on everything because they what they learned really wasn't applicable to what they're doing, in real world life. And so, but if we would have talked to, our ambulance services or our EMTs, our paramedics, they would kind of let us know and guide us on what students really need to know or where students have fell short beforehand, far as soft skills or technical skills or any other skills. And now we can bridge that gap to really setting them up for success. Because a lot of times we um, unconsciously are setting them up for failure by maybe getting them a skill and teaching them something that they think they're gonna need or gonna know, and then when they get out there, it's still foreign to them because we didn't set them up for success and teach them what they really should be learning. And so I think we just need to talk more, communicate more, collaborate more, start working in silos, and so that's some of the biggest things I just want to see is more communication, more collaboration, and just working together more.
Especially on working together more, it's so important, not working in silos. And addition to that, too, like what gives you hope as you look towards the future of higher education?
Oh, I honestly, and this may be a cliche answer, but I would say the students kind of gives me hope because a lot of times we feel, just watching social media and all these different people we see out, we're like, oh man, the next generation is doomed. And then me and my friends, we're kind of level-headed where we think back to when we was in elementary school, middle school, and high school. We used to do kind of the same stuff they used to do, maybe even worse. Yeah, so they actually are more intelligent. They are wiser. They are have some skills that we didn't have. And so a lot of times just pulling it out of them, and they really are making so much sense in their own language, in their own way. A lot of time that gives me hope that okay, the world's gonna be all right. We just have this old ancient mindset of how we want to see things, and our conservative thinking where these young students are going to change the game, and it's going to be what we couldn't even imagine, or we couldn't even fathom. And so they're just thinking outside the box, and they're so creative, and they're so open minded. I think is one thing I can say about like Gen Z. They're open minded. That they don't mind expressing themselves. Whether it's online or where back in the day, we're taught to hold our feelings in, or you don't talk about therapy, or you don't. talk about this or talk about that. And they're just open to so many different things now. And so I do like that aspect. And that do gives me hope. Like, okay, they um are capable of carrying that torch and laying that blueprint and being the adults in the future that we need. We need to, of course, continue to nurture them, but also, don't try to change them. Don't let them be who they be and who they are, but give them skills that they need so they can be well rounded, but also they can create a world that we can't even imagine. It's a big percentage of jobs that's going to be created in the future that don't even exist right now. And that's only because of their mindset and how they think outside the box and how they can do things differently. And so that just gives me so much hope. And that keeps you young, being around the college students. I don't understand a lot of what they be saying or the music they listen to. I'm kind of becoming my parents, but it gives me hope when I talk to them, and I be like, you know what, it made a lot of sense. Even if I don't 100% agree, it makes sense to think like that. You're right. And so I learned so much from my students as well too. And like I said, I just soak it all in, and it helps me be a better practitioner and a better leader by learning from them as well too. And it teaches me how to educate them better by actually actively listening to them and seeing how they think. And how they aren't really too much different from us, but they are actually more eccentric, and they're actually thinking on just a different level and just have a different mindset.
Yeah, I love that. And also too, like keeping you young, because there's a lot of lingo. Like I learned so much stuff recently. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, for my like no, seriously, I was like, okay, but now I use it. It's funny.
Yeah, right,
I was like, okay,
right,
cool. I like that. Yeah.
right.
Um, but also too, now like the big question is like, how can folks stay connected to you with all the amazing work, progress projects and initiatives that you're doing?
Oh wow. Of course, I'm on of course social media. I'm on Facebook. I heard Facebook is for old people. But Facebook, I love Facebook. Instagram, I am on Instagram at Pernell Goodwin. So my first and last name. And of course Pernell H Goodwin on Facebook and LinkedIn. Where we connected. I love LinkedIn. It's a beautiful place. It's all positivity, no toxic energy, no negativity. I love it. And so you just type in Pernell Goodwin on LinkedIn as well. And not to sound like Coach Signetti from Indiana, but I'm Googleable. You can Google me as well too, and some of my Facebook pages pop up as well as we have our I'm at Colin, which is Compile Lincoln Community College here in Mississippi. We're in the southwest corner of the state. My campus specifically is in Natchez, Mississippi, which is on the Mississippi-Louisiana line. We run alongside the Mississippi River. And so you could type in Colin, Colin, uh, edu. And so we have all our updates we have three campuses. We have our main campus in Weston, Mississippi, which is about 40 minutes from Jackson, our state capital. And then my campus, which is about an hour from Weston, in Natchez, Mississippi. And then we have another campus in the opposite direction called Simpson County Center, which is probably about 2 hours from our Mississippi coast, Gulf Coast. And so we have just those three campuses, but we have a lot of programs, definitely on the healthcare side, from like I said, nursing. We have PN and RN. We have radiology, paramedic. We also have, of course, like I said, our EMT programs as well as medical lab tech programs. So we are really big in the health sciences and applied sciences now. And of course, we have hands-on programs, academics, if you want to transfer to a 4 year. So we have a lot of great opportunities at a very, very, very affordable price. And so that's one of the biggest things about community colleges. You can at least get your first kind of 2 years, 60 credits out the way for a discounted price compared to going to like your larger universities. And so that's why it really, really makes sense for a lot of our students. And it teaches you how to do college. You kind of ease into it because a lot of times at these big universities, it's so big and classes you have 50, 100 people in there, and people don't really have enough time to really kind of walk you and sponsor you and hold your hand because there's so many students. Where at a community college, we kind of specialize in that. We specialize in that intimate touch and really helping our students and grabbing them wherever they are, and bringing them where they need to be. So no matter what they want to do, whether it's career field or they want to go to a 4-year institution, that they are equipped with everything they need to be successful. And so, please, you can follow me on all my social media sites as well as on our website at colin.edu. And we're doing a lot of great work. We're doing some stuff with AI, integrating that into all of our programs, specifically our career and technical programs. And so healthcare programs is into that as well too, because now in the hospitals, the clinics, nursing homes, I may be a nurse, but now I have a system that uses AI. So now I want to make sure that I am equipped with the skills to be efficient in that area as well. And so we want to just make sure our students have everything they need and that somebody from a larger area or institution don't have a leg up because they've been exposed to more. We want to, like I said, continue to have that access to everything that they need to be successful.
I agree. So guys, please connect with him. And LinkedIn is so important. I've been using LinkedIn since I was like 18.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's funny because the other day somebody was like, "Oh, you're so LinkedIn famous. You have like 17,000 followers on there." I'm like, I don't even know how many followers I have on there. I don't even keep track of that. But I
Me either.
do. Like, why are you looking at, first of all, why are you looking at my followers? Like, let's talk about that. But it's so important, and you could just connect with so many people on there, and it's really
Mhm.
positive. It might be like 2 at night, 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm just like, I'm just scrolling on LinkedIn to people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like, because it's just like, it's just business stuff, it's positive stuff, everything that people are doing, and you never know what people are doing, in their career.
most
Um,
definitely.
yeah, so it could then help you, and you're like, I might be interested in that, or how they get on that committee?
Yeah. Oh yes, yes. I see. I love it. I love it.
How are they serving in that position? So it does create a lot of great opportunities. So please, guys, connect with him through all his social media platforms, especially LinkedIn. And then I just also want to say, Dr. Goodwin, thank you so much for your leadership, your service, and your unwavering commitment to building pathways, not barriers, within higher education. Your work reminds us that access is not accidental, that leadership must be rooted in service, and that institutions are strongest when they are designed around the people that they serve. So, to our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you, stay connected with our podcast and visit angelsprotection.org, where you can learn more about our projects and programs that we're doing throughout the year for young women and mothers between the ages of 13 to 20. As we continue elevating voices that transform academic systems with integrity, accountability, and care. And always remember, sounds protect systems, not people. So let's keep breaking it together. And please like, comment, subscribe. So take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, of course. I appreciate you.